Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. A very warm welcome to our webinar on Google Maps platform. Um, we are just waiting for a couple of folks to join the link, and we'll start in about 5 minutes. Great. So people have joined our webinar, so we'll start. Today we have with us Jolly. She's the channel head of Google Maps. And we have Franco. He's the director of Southeast Asia Cloud Consulting from Searce. And they'll be forward from now on. Over to you, Franco.
Fantastic. Very good morning, good afternoon, or just in case, good evening to those of you guys who are watching us right now. We appreciate your time. As introduced by Ria, my name is Franco Eisma, and I lead the Searce team here in Southeast Asia. I'd like to introduce my co-presenter today, Jolly. Jolly is with Google, and she's going to walk us through what is new, what is interesting, and why Google Maps has ever been so interesting for business customers like yourself. A bit of introduction about myself and Jolly. We actually share something together. We are both, well, at least 2.5 years ago, we were both Nooglers in the same batch, and I fondly remember our training in Singapore, and it's a pleasure for me to be hosting this with her. Next slide, please. So there are 3 things that I'd like to walk us through today. And since we are talking about maps, we're going to be talking about different kinds of maps, at least in my perspective. I'd like to walk everyone, give you a glimpse by the end of this agenda, to give you a good glimpse of a mental map of a lovely startup called Searce. We're a 600 people startup, and some of the exciting things that we do. I would like to leave you guys with a mental map of my technology philosophy and strategy when we work with customers and partners like yours. We'd like to leave you with a mental map of why Google is ever more so critical in this particular space. And then we'll leave off and into the structures of how you guys can use this in your organization. Next slide, please. All right. For those of you guys who are still joining, I'd like you to guess what this is, but there's a bit of a draw. I forgot to hide the one in the middle. Yeah? So I guess you guys know what this is. We are, at this day and age, surprisingly still mapping a lot of things, our surroundings. I think as early as humans can hold on to rock, we've been carving pictures of our surroundings, and it's no different from today in that we're still mapping everything that we see, touch, feel, and understand, whether those are physical or things that are abstract. And this is one thing that is so amazing for me, that we are mapping the human brain. And even in that field of biology, we're trying to use maps as a visual representation of how we can understand the workings of the human brain. Now, before I embarrass myself, and I'm not a biologist by any chance, but I'm going to talk about this anyway. So the middle part, you see there, the one that is connecting your left and right brain, that is called the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is your highway between your left and right brain, and it has been found through research that women actually has 40% larger bandwidth in their corpus callosum. What does that mean? Women can be driving and answering phone calls and taking care of the kids and managing as a CEO of a startup and doing everything else without a problem. Franco cannot multitask, really bad at multitasking. So there's a bit of trivia for you as we go along. And I think that's a nice way to kick off our introductions for today. Next slide, please. So since we talked about maps, let me put into the map where our 600 startup company is. Number one, we're a global company. We have been partnering and working with Google for at least a good part of 8+ years. We have been in the business for 14 years. And I think that throughout our short but very lively and very exciting expansions, we have served clients and customers across the globe, as you can see in this map. See how useful that is. I think that our genesis has really allowed us to serve both big corporations as well as small corporations. We're a little bit sparse on the Southeast Asia side of the pins, but that is why I'm here, and that is why I've joined Searce, coming from Google, is to build up that business for us moving forward. Next slide, please. We do a lot of things, and we focus on a few that we also are very, very good at. Number one is that our relationship with Google has not been ever more strong. And we're certainly leveraging that to deliver solutions in the map side of things, in the GCP or the Google Cloud Platform side of things, the G Suite side of things, and many others. Our technology or consulting philosophy can be explained to the next slide, please. So we look at your organization. If you look at the top of this, even before the first layer, you look at your organization and we jointly work with you and ask you some of the toughest questions, because we would like to really make sure that we're solving business problems for your organization. Whenever you give us a project, we'll ask you back, why is this important? What are you trying to achieve? What is it that will set us up for success? And start working backwards in terms of what we will try and do, in terms of the process, in terms of the technology, in terms of the innovation that needs to happen in doing that. And then we go even deeper. What are the technologies that would actually support all your goals and your business drivers? And here are some of the examples of the technologies we use to kind of build the bricks to achieving that business goal. And that is kind of our technology philosophy when it comes to working with many different clients, from big to small, from startup to 100-year-old companies. And that's just a brief teaser, really, of our small little startup, I wanted to hand it over to Jolly to get us all excited in the world of maps. And then I'll continue on with some of the exciting stories that we have and some of my personal relationship with Google Maps. Thanks.
Thanks, Franco, for the wonderful introduction and for setting the context so right with your right and red brain. Thing. It was really interesting to see that. Yes, women can do multitasking.
Jolly is in 3 meetings right now, I assure you. She's just pretending that, she's in one webinar.
Thanks for that, and thanks to all of you for joining this session. And what I'll do is I'll take you down through why do you need location as a part of your business. Then we will discuss why do you need Google Maps, and finally then we'll talk about few use cases which will be taken care by Franco and the Searce team, and I'll be there throughout the webinar to answer any of your questions. So let's begin. Google mission has always been the bold one to organize world information. And by organizing the world information, I don't mean it organizing it for a country or for a state. It means organizing the world information. In 2005, we set up an audacious goal that we'll organize this information. And in 2005, we thought we should bring this data available to the enterprises. And since then, we have been empowering more than 5 million websites with our 18 plus APIs. Next slide, please. So what does location means to you? So today, if I have to give you some numbers, 6 out of 10 searches are location-specific searches. 60% of any data, any business data, is geo data. So location is a center of your business. It acts as a force multiplier. Talking about IoT, 23 billion IoT connected devices we have it today, and by 2025 we'll have around 75 billion IoT devices, which means an increase of 52 billion IoT devices in span of the next few years. And just to give you some context to it, it would turn up to an average of 6 devices per person worldwide, which is a huge number, and all of these devices will have a location component attached to it. Next slide, please. So location data creates a new value for your enterprises. So what does it do? It helps you in visualizing the data. Not just visualizing it, it helps you in analyzing the data and finally making some strategic decisions and better decisions for your customers. So it gives you a better customer experience. It helps you in optimizing your company operations and helps you in making decisions. Next slide. So we know location is very important. We know location acts as a center of your business. We know like 90% of Forbes top 100 companies, they use location as a center of their business. But why do you need Google Maps platform? You must have heard about new Google Maps platform, and we'll talk about in detail in next few slides. But why is Google Maps platform different from other mapping technologies? And that's what we'll talk about in next few slides. Sorry. As I said, we are obsessed with mapping the world. We are obsessed with our goal, which we had in 2005, to organize world information and to make it available so that our users can navigate and travel the world wherever they want to. And for that, we are making a lot of investment. And few such investments are in terms of our new Android and the new acquisitions which we do. And the next slide, please. These are new investments which we have done in last few years. Android Auto, Waze, as we Waze is already a Google company and it's been used worldwide for traffic purposes and Waymo. So we are using the information and insights coming out of these companies. We are adding our intelligence to it. We are adding Google data to it. And not just that, with this new Maps platform, there is a seamless integration between Google Maps and Google Cloud. So we add our machine learning algorithms, and that's where we provide the useful information to the users. Next slide. So what are people doing today? So we have more than 1 billion active users. And if I talk about JPAC, we have more than billion users only in JPAC using maps every day. Not just that, we have around hundreds of millions of people who are updating our places API every day, and we have thousands of developers, those who help in developing these applications, and we have map operators around the world. We just not it helps in improving the maps content. It takes the feedback and it makes it possible they're accurate and in real time. So that's a kind of investment Google is making in Google Maps platform. Next slide. The another thing which I would like to talk about is Street View. So Street View, we know it's a very core to our Google Maps, and it's something which differentiates us quite a bit with respect to our competition. The satellite imagery in Google Earth covers more than 60% of world's data and 98% of world population. And not just that, so all these updates, if I count the updates coming from Street View, from our developers, from users like me and you, we have around more than 25 million updates happening every day, which means by the time we wrap up this particular presentation in next 1 hour, we already have a 1 million update on the plate. So that's the kind of technology and the bandwidth Google is ready to handle when it comes down to scaling your business. Next slide, please. Not just making an investment, we also believe in continuous innovations. So, we have made few changes to our the way Google Maps look and feel, and one such changes is on the base map. Just next slide. So, if you see earlier, we had such kind of visualization for your customers, but now we have changed the way the customer could see the map. We have added a lot more information. It involves the information around, say, if there's a nearest marathon going around, or if there is a nearest, in case of there's some natural calamities, we can provide all those information. We are providing all those information to Google Maps interface as well, and it make your user experience very friendly and familiar when we are making your application on top of Google Maps API. Next slide, please. Another example, but this is more of an example coming from the other part of the globe, from Brazil. As we know, in Brazil, the addresses are not very accurate, and same is the problem with India. But unfortunately, we do not have Street View in India. Unfortunately, we have in Brazil. So earlier, if you see the left side of the image, this is an address captured long time back from at a location at Brazil, but using Street View, we were able to, and using our machine learning algorithm, adding artificial intelligence to it, we were able to capture the results in a format which is shown on the right hand side. And by using this technology, to last year we geocoded around 30 million Brazil addresses, and being a huge problem in Brazil about addresses, we were able to resolve it to a great extent with a lot more accuracy. Next slide, please. So, and what we also do is make your operations more efficient. From the time you start booking your cab, from the time you sign off from your cab, you use multiple Google Maps API at the backend, but there are a lot of things happening on the real-time basis. You need to know, perhaps you are on a trip, you want to know which is the nearest petrol pump, you want to know which is the nearest metro station. If you are getting late for a meeting, you might want to take a bus rather than stucking yourself in a jam. All those information can be provided on real-time basis, and it makes your operations more efficient. These informations are taken from the Google Places API, and it's provided right on your applications, and hence making your business more efficient. And it helps not just user but also to you make your decisions more reliable and efficient. And finally, your maps are loved by everyone. It's a very familiar UI which helps people to, it kinds of makes a bond with the customers, and it helps you in making it more intuitive when it comes down to getting feedback from the customer. So most of the customer, they use Maps API for their end users, also for their own company. For an example, like the company, they would want their developers to use a technology which is very familiar to them, and they are well aware about the changes, and that's what people love about Google Maps. Next slide, please. So overall, we have coverage worldwide. So tomorrow, if you're planning to expand your business, you're planning to scale your business from one location to another, and especially talking about JPAC, which is a hub of startups. People are starting from Indonesia, from India, and from Singapore, and they want to cover EMEA and the rest of the globe. And that's where you need global coverage. So just giving some numbers, 99% of the world countries and territories are already covered by Google Maps, and which means we have more than 40 million roads covered, and we make lot of updates, 25 minutes update every day, and we have around 150 million places data already registered with us. And as we speak, we keep updating it and enriching it using our cloud technologies as well. And that's where we make our Google Maps API more available and scalable in nature. Next slide. So I spoke about scalability already. So yes, scalability is important, expansion is important, and that's where you need to combine technologies coming from Google Maps, Google Cloud, add your data to it, and that's where you make your data very powerful, and that's where it acts as a force multiplier. As I have been using this term of force multiplier because a multiplier needs something to multiply. You can have all the technology from Google, but it can't multiply in vacuum, and that multiplier factor is your business, is the insight. So when you add technologies coming from Maps, Cloud, and when you add your data on top of it, that's where you get a location data, very core to your business and very core and very close to the heart of your customers. Next slide, please. These are a list of few companies. Those are already using Google Maps. We have many more. We have around more than 5 million apps and websites using Google Maps for their business. And top 100 out of Forbes 500 companies, 70% of companies are already using Maps. So that kind of established the credibility and effectiveness which Google Maps platform bring to any business, be it a startup or be a established business like Disney or Alliance. And we are into multiple industries right now. We'll talk about multiple use cases in next few slides. Next slide, please. Over to you, Franco.
Thank you, Jolly. So I think, thank you for that. We certainly have a better appreciation of Maps and kind of the journey that it has taken. I'm certainly one of the earliest users of Maps. I remember playing with that in my, I wouldn't say my age, but after my graduate studies, Google Earth has been a companion for me. When I had breaks and stuff, I liked hovering around in different countries and checking out the photos of people and pictures, plus, of course, the Maps feature of it. So for those of you who might have joined late or perhaps have kind of missed out on the things that Jolly covered, I'll continue with the Google Maps conversation. And we were just talking about the different features of it. We are now diving into the applications of the platform in a specific use case, particularly retail. Next, please. And just before I dive deeper into, next, please, into the retail use cases, indulge me for 2 minutes here. I'd like everyone to think about where they were in January 19 or 20 of 2008. Yeah, just imagine you're taking out your phone. What kind of phone do you have? It's either you're the Nokia camp or you are in the BlackBerry camp, or some of you guys who are a little bit niche are on the Ericsson camp. For those of you guys who live in Singapore, probably, oh, well, you could have an iPhone, but the iPhone was probably like iPhone 3 or iPhone 4 at that time, and you would probably still be buying a few years earlier, the 2008 Street Directory. And I love this Street Directory. For those of you guys who are not in Singapore, this is the the reference that I used to buy. I get excited every year. I buy them because they have all the details that I needed, and I couldn't wait until the new releases come into play. So why am I talking about this? Why am I walking you back 10 years ago and asking you to time travel with me? Well, because the buying experience and the customers and the companies that have sprung up in that decade, that's a very short span of decade, has completely overturned everything that we knew or know about the industry. When I travel these days, I don't have to call and pre-book a driver. I don't have to know where I am, even if I'm in India, if I'm in Peru. I just book anything on my phone and I get along pretty well with the driver, and he knows exactly where he's going, courtesy of maps and cloud and data and all these things that we talked about. So let's take a specific use case in retail. Next slide, please. At least in the world of retail, there are three major themes that are happening here, and how geo solutions are starting to help retailers and executives and businesses to use location more intelligently. So one is the increasing the number of conversions that they get, conversions from website visits, mobile application usage, and so forth. The second is going through the logistics side, which we'll go through in a bit. It's asset tracking. Thirdly is really fun. It's where the fun is and where the exploratory role of maps can be combined with other data. So let's go through number one first, increasing conversions. So I don't know if you guys remember the time, probably 10 plus years ago, when you go to a website and you're trying to find a place, it wasn't as seamless. Maps in its current form really allows this to be fairly easy. In fact, I would argue that this is almost a level setter, and this is an absolute must for any business right now, to have presence in maps and to have their address out there and to be visible from all their consumers, because this is exactly what they do. Next, please. Certainly is the case for me. Look for companies, I look for retailers, I look for anything, it is always maps. That is a default. Second is the ability to autocomplete and simplify your interactions with your customers. So for some of you who use an overseas shipping service like I do, I use VPOS. I hate when you have to, every time I order from a different company, they want me to fill in the address and they want me to sign up for a loyalty system and all these things. I just like sign up as a guest, deliver it to this particular address. And that autocomplete feature for me has been a time saver. I could not tell you how many times I would have abandoned cart personally just because of the pain. And we talk about that, we call this pain now. Having to autocomplete or not having autocomplete in the address field of the deliveries that I do. And there's many things that I do order online. I'd say 80% of my life is actually procured online. Next, please. So it is also that feature where routing becomes important. When you do have to physically pick up, visit, go through a brick and mortar store, Maps provides this ability to have an integrated routing system for you to figure out your proximate distance. And this is something that I do, whether I'm having meetings on a daily basis or whether I'm trying to calculate the number of meetings that I can pack in a given day, especially when I'm in an unfamiliar location. This is something that I use very heavily when I'm not acquainted with a specific area. Next, please. And this is also part of that, all that suite of features that we talk about, from figuring out to where you are, to figuring out the routing, to having a presence in maps, understanding where I can pick up my stuff. It's an extension of this. Next, please. And as you can see, as things get easier and easier, we could even geolocate ourselves and kind of have a pickup location closest to where we're at. Next, please. All right, so we talked about the first chunk. We talked about the customer, your presence in maps being a critical dimension of it, which I think we all agree. And that's just a must to any digital business today, or I would argue even non-digital business. Let's look at the logistics side of this. And Sorry, next slide, please. All right. So I think we might have jumped again a little bit. Let me just go back on the other side. The whole idea of all these features and tools is what? What is the purpose of it? Purpose is really to reduce the abandonment of carts, to increase our conversions, and to have a better flow, a workflow, or a customer ordering flow that would allow us to convert far more than we are able to without the help of maps. It also allows us to do a few things. It allows us to understand where our customers, where are these guys who are abandoning carts, where are they having difficulties, and you can almost imagine the number of permutations that you could do A, B, X, Y, Z testing into your systems to find out the differences that maps can make in your business. Next slide, please. All right, so as I said, we are now on the second dimension of maps. We talked about all these great things that can increase conversions, lessen the abandonment of carts. We're talking about asset tracking. Now, what kind of companies do this? Well, I would imagine a lot of companies do this. As an example, there's a beverage company that I work with in the Mekong region. They wanted to understand exactly where their trucks are because they are delivering beverages everywhere in the country. They want to understand which ones are the most effective drivers, how long does it take for them to do that. They want to optimize their route. They want to make sure that all the supplies are replenished before they run out of stock. And you can imagine, there's many ways that you could use asset tracking. And it's not just deliveries. I have worked with mobile telcos around the region where they want to make sure that their important assets are tagged and they understand up to where their service connections are ending. So if you're provisioning mobile internet or sorry, hardline, lease-line internet, you want to make sure that your customer knows if their area or vicinities are covered, and that's an extension of this assets tracking and also understanding and integrating it with a wider solution of who can I serve based on where my assets are. Next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about e-commerce. And this is probably the most hyper-competitive of retail that we could take as a market segment. And this is where really the power of maps and the data that you get from maps can be combined with the Google Cloud Platform to understand exactly where are my customers, what are their demographics, what kind of segments am I serving, where do these guys live, where are my deliveries coming from, where are they not getting through. So understanding all those dynamics is really a function of understanding the location of your customers and superimposing them on the other data that you may already have. Next, please. And this is just an example of one of such analysis from Kayak. It is really the heat map of where their customers are coming from, where the searchers are coming from. Dynamically, they're being displayed into a dashboard. And it's a great way for us to understand during the time of the day. And one of the things that I've seen over the years, which is really exciting, is a time slider series as well, imposed on this dashboard, and understanding the behaviors and patterns of customers, not just on a per day basis, but on a longer term basis as well. Next slide, please. In the same way, when we create marketing campaigns in a specific locations, we can then attribute the impact of those campaigns. We can attribute that if we spend X amount in AdWords, which hopefully you guys are using, we can see whether it has picked up in a specific location. The idea is that you can now find or attribute a lot of these high-level efforts to create revenue and impact to the actual customers that you are getting on the ground. And Maps is an important platform and component of tying those together. Next, please. So let me talk about some exciting customers that we have worked with. And I'll tell you why they're exciting for me, at least. J'adore voyage. Me encanta viajar is Spanish and French of I love traveling. This is a picture of me and my son about a few months ago after I left Google, camping and basically going around the world. This was taken in Machu Picchu in Peru. I took a little bit of an old school approach where I downloaded a lot of my maps because I was not expecting internet connection to be great and so forth. But you know what surprised me? Animation, please. Next one. that there is this company called Redbus. For those of you guys who are not familiar with Redbus is this amazing startup that I got exposed to probably about 10 years ago. And it took me by surprise. These guys started out in Asia, and apparently in South America, because the flights and budget travel is still catching up with the rest of the world in that part of the continent. They use buses extensively. Flying is really expensive, so I did use buses extensively. There was one problem. Everything was in Spanish, and my Spanish wasn't perfect at all. So I did use Redbus quite extensively to get around in Peru and Colombia, and I was tempted to go to Bolivia. And Redbus is a constant companion that I had in planning all those trips. So this is one of the emails that they still send me, and I keep them, which is amazing. Since being an avid traveler, I am subscribed to a number of different travel websites and so forth. So another example is the one in the middle. And if you guys are, like me, a little bit lazy from time to time, like taking ride-sharing applications, there's a new one that came out in Singapore. Make the most out of it. Well, the subsidies are great. Drivers are happy. The company is called Tada. So those are 3 examples of companies that we've worked with globally. And we have about 50 companies that we've worked with in this Maps transformation and journey. And I think it's quite important for us now to switch over and understand the different components of Maps as it exists today, and their vision and the refresh that Jolly mentioned. And for that, we'll be walked through by Ria on some of the specific kinds of programs from Maps and kind of specific kinds of subscriptions that are available for your business. So with that, thank you. I'll come back towards the end.
Thank you, Franco. It was an excellent demo for us to know what your journey has been with Redbus and traveling. It was really, really good to know. So I'll just start covering, as Jolly mentioned, that Google has launched the new Google Maps platform last year in July, and we have integrated it with Google Cloud. So I would like to emphasize my part towards how the new licensing model is structured. So since we've integrated, it's become better, it's become scalable, it's become a lot faster. And so the main change is under the pricing model is that it is pay per use. You have no restrictions, no limitations on what you have to pay. Say for the next year, there's no prepaid plans for what you pay. And it's a very enterprise scalable infrastructure. And we have changed the branding. It's a Google Maps platform, and we have moderated all these prices, and you have individual API pricing. So you do not have to buy the whole API structure like previously under the premium plan, where you had to subscribe for a yearly subscription. Right now, you just need to select your APIs, enable them, and start billing. And the very good part of the new platform is that you have one console for all your GCP, that is the Google Cloud projects and Google Maps projects. You can track it under one console. You can see your usage for a period of 1 day, 24 say a month, a week. And you can see, and the best part of it is that if you use your the APIs and you use the Google Maps platform, say for a day, you are only billed for that. You're not billed for a year. And the discounting is also, so as we move forward, Google has made it easier to subscribe to this. You just go onto the Google Cloud console, log in, and start using these APIs. Towards the end of the slide, I will come to the partner benefit, how you can leverage our technical capabilities and our understanding of the Maps platform to scale faster and transition better. So Google has what they have structured the APIs. They have structured it under three broad modules. One is maps, the second one is routes, and the third one is places. There are a set of 18 APIs in total, which are classified under these three modules. All the maps or all the Maps projecting APIs, say a JavaScript or a dynamic maps API, is under the maps part. The routing APIs, say from point A to point B, you want directions, you want distances between any points, that comes under routes. And all the places API, the richest part of Google Maps platform is the places API. The details about any place, the timing, opening hours, the rating, price level, all these APIs are found under the places module. You can actually, there are publicly available pricing sheet links. There is an existing user guide that you can go and read about the new pricing structure and the modules. There's also publicly available calculator, in which you just need to pump in your numbers, a monthly number, and you can see what you will bill. To get a better experience, Searce is skilled in understanding your business model and technical expertise, and we can guide you as to how many API calls that you would need, and have an estimate prepared for you for a monthly as well as an annual period. So just to quickly share on how Searce can support your Google journey. Searce, we are a global Google Premier Partner for Google Maps and Google Cloud platform, and we have domain expertise. And we do a thorough analysis of your use case, your business model, your business critical issues, and we can guide you on which APIs you exactly need for your use case. Also, I want to emphasize on the fact that we are one among the 9 global partners to have achieved location services specialization tag, which is very premier to Google Maps partner. And we achieved it last year during Google Next. We can guide you through the changes. So we are thorough with the old pricing model and the new pricing model. So we can help you transition from the old to the new one. We can estimate your cost. We can optimize your application with strategies. So you can leverage our technical capabilities. And the last point is that the discounting tiers and the new model. So when you directly bill with Google, you are open to the 2 discounting tiers based on the number of calls that you make during a span of month. But when you come to a partner, when you are under our console, you can explore the remaining 5 discount tiers. We have flexible payment options that you can also explore, and we can help you walk through it easily. So just to quickly summarize it, we have domain expertise. We have around 100 Google Cloud architects and Google Maps technical architects sitting around here, which can guide you through this. We have achieved the location services specialization tags. We have additional discounting tiers, and we have an in-depth understanding of the old and the new pricing model. So with this, we have come to an end with our presentation. We'll be taking up questions from now on. Also, for the viewers watching, there is a QR code on the right-hand side of the screen. You can scan it and you can give us your feedbacks. If you want to schedule a call, we can know more about your use case. You can drop us a note at googlemaps@sears.com.
If you guys want to know more about Peru, Colombia, Narcos, and Medellin, I'll drop me a different note. But I would love to hear from you guys.
Great.
So I think there was a number of questions that were asked, and I think we have one of our specialists going to be helping us answer those questions.
Yeah, I was just coming to that. So our first question is, can I start Google Maps APIs on my own, or is a partner required? So I think Jolly, can you answer that? It would be better if it comes from you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Riya, and thanks for asking this question. It even makes Searce and my job easier to explain why do you need a partner. So definitely, on your first question, you can start on your own. Nothing is stopping you. We have a very small, set of APIs which you could use, and it's like $200 per month or something. So you don't have to. You can just start with those APIs, but Google Maps, as I have been telling in last of my slides, it's all about scalability. So when do you want to scale and you want to expand your business, then definitely you would need a partner. And you would need a partner for many more other reasons, like, say if you're migrating from your existing from premium plan to the new plan, which is Google Maps platform, you need someone who understand both the plans. Not just that, as Ria mentioned, you would definitely get a better price as you move higher the slabs. You may get a better discounts when you are involving a partner. And last but not the least, the support and which you get from the partner, and the SLA which you get from the partner is really great. So all of the customers, those who have involved partner, they get support even in certain instances much quicker than Google can provide support. So definitely you should go ahead with a partner. But if you just want to start, test and try, you can start right from our website, but keep partner looped in so that they can guide you on your journey.
Thanks. Thank you, Jolly. Our second question is exploring asset tracking application and understand that it is not available anymore. Why? So I'll try to address that question. So before Google Maps platform, we had a premium plan license under which we had multiple use cases. And one of the use cases was asset tracking, in which you got a bundled API. The prices were price per asset, and you got a bundled API plan. Under the new platform, we wanted to make it, Google wanted to make it more scalable for you. They wanted to so they wanted to make your experience, your journey with Google Maps platform better. That is why they've transitioned from a premium plan to a consumption-based model under which you only pay for what you use. Maybe Jolly, you can elaborate on this further.
Completely right. You have summarized it well. This change was done because we had asked from the market that the market wants to move on pay-per-use model, and not just that, all other products from Google, which is be it Google Cloud or be at the ad side of the business, all of the Google is working towards one Google technology, and the billing is done in pay-per-use model. Only the Maps was the only one which was not done in pay-per-use model. That's the reason now we want to go ahead and provide one billing solution to all of the customers, and that's where pay-per-use model comes into place.
Oh, great. So I guess that's it. We do have one last question. Dynamic maps versus static maps for my food delivery site, which is better? We can take this question offline, but I'll just like to emphasize, I just like to summarize it very shortly, that it depends on your business use case. If you want to have a very interactive map, you can go for a dynamic map. If you want to have a very non-interactive map, just you want to show where your assets are, then you can go for a static map. But we can elaborate that in on a call. So
Fantastic.
yeah. So that's it. We've come to the end of our webinar. We would love to hear how helpful it was and what you would like for us to do in our next webinars, and how would you like for us to engage with you. Do drop in a word to us at googlemaps@searce.com, and you can reach out to Jolly and Franco. They'll be happy to help you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ria. It's a pleasure delivering this webinar with you, Jolly.
Same here.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.